Hey there! Welcome back to the channel. It's so good to see you again. I really hope you're having an amazing day, no matter where you are in this incredible world of ours. All right, let's dive into XRP because I've got some absolutely mind-blowing news to share with you today. Are you ready for this? We're talking about over 200,000 XRP payments, and here's the kicker. There's been a massive 30% spike in network activity on the XRP ledger. This is huge, and I can't wait to break it all down for you.
Okay, so here's what's really fascinating. We're seeing XRP transactions absolutely exploding on the ledger right now. The ETFs are gobbling up massive amounts of XRP, taking it right out of circulation. Plus, we're hearing about even more XRP treasuries being set up left and right. But here's the million-dollar question that's probably driving you crazy too. Why isn't XRP's price reflecting any of this incredible momentum? Why aren't we seeing those green candles we've all been waiting for? Well, I think there are a few things going on here, and it's honestly pretty frustrating. First off, these ETF giants like Franklin Templeton, they're playing the long game. They want to keep scooping up XRP at rock-bottom prices for as long as possible. And who can blame them, right? But there's more to it than that. We're still basically married to Bitcoin's movements. And guess what's happening there? Those old-school Bitcoin whales are taking profits and cashing out. All that money that was flowing into Bitcoin ETFs, it's now flowing right back out and moving into other investment opportunities. This is dragging Bitcoin down, and unfortunately, we're getting pulled down with it. And let's be real here. There's definitely some serious market manipulation happening in this space. It's obvious to anyone paying attention. So when does this madness finally end? When do we finally see XRP show its true colors and real value? I believe it all comes down to one thing: clear regulations. Once we get that regulatory clarity locked in, I think this manipulation game is going to come to a screeching halt. But here's what I know for certain. You can only hold down a powerhouse like XRP for so long before something's got to give. And when it breaks out, it's going to be explosive.
All right, this is absolutely incredible news, and I had to share this with you immediately. This comes straight from Udo at the Bank of Japan. And when I say straight from the source, I mean this is confirmed directly from upper management. Are you ready for this? Ripple is actively building a zero-knowledge, proof-based identity verification system right on the XRP ledger. What does this mean? It's going to position the XRP ledger as the go-to infrastructure for tokenizing Japan's entire economy. Let that sink in for a moment. Now, I know what you're thinking. Everyone's always focused on what's happening in the United States, right? We're constantly hearing, if the US adopts this, it'll be huge. And yes, the US market is massive, but here's what most people are missing. We need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. What we're witnessing right now isn't just an American phenomenon. This is a global revolution unfolding before our eyes. Tokenization isn't going to be limited to just one country or region. We're talking about a worldwide transformation where every major economy is going to want their piece of this tokenization pie. And guess what's positioned perfectly to capture all of that massive value flowing in from around the globe? You got it. The XRP ledger. This isn't just about one market anymore. This is about becoming the backbone of the global tokenized economy.
Okay, this is really interesting, and I think it's something we all need to pay attention to. A top Ripple executive just made some pretty bold statements about XRP needing to learn from Solana, and he's saying we need to act before it's too late. So here's what happened. Luke Judges, who's Ripple's global partner success lead and director, recently had to clear the air about some misconceptions floating around regarding his past work with Solana. People were getting the wrong idea about his background. But here's the key takeaway that I think is absolutely crucial. Luke made it crystal clear that just because he's now working at Ripple doesn't mean he's going to throw shade at other blockchain ecosystems. In fact, it's quite the opposite. He's saying there's real value in respecting and learning from what other projects like Solana are doing right. This kind of open-minded approach from Ripple leadership is actually pretty refreshing, don't you think? Instead of the usual tribal mentality we see in crypto, we're getting someone who's willing to acknowledge that there might be lessons XRP can learn from its competitors.
So here's his brilliant strategy. He wants to take a deep dive into what makes Solana tick. What are they absolutely crushing? What are their weak spots? Then take those winning strategies and supercharge the XRP ledger with them. Huh, it's honestly such a smart approach. And speaking of game-changing news, the XRP ledger is finally getting smart contracts. I mean, can you imagine the possibilities here? We're about to see an explosion of new projects and massive value flowing into the XRP ecosystem like never before. Luke's also tackling some of the big concerns that people have been talking about. Things like decentralization and network security. These are legitimate issues that need addressing, and I love that he's being proactive about it. But here's why I think this approach is absolutely genius. Instead of just sitting in their own bubble, they're actually studying what's working and what's failing across the entire blockchain space. They're cherry-picking the best features from other networks and integrating them into XRP. What does this mean for us? It means the XRP ledger is going to become stronger, more robust, and more attractive to developers and investors over time. It's like taking the best of all worlds and creating something even better. That's how you build a network that can truly dominate.
This is such a brilliant way to think about building up a network, and I absolutely love this perspective from Reese Merrick. It really puts everything into focus for us. Let me take you back to the 2000s for a second. Remember when texting was basically highway robbery? Carriers were charging us 10 to 20 cents per SMS, or they'd sell us these tiny bundles like 500 texts for 10 to 20 bucks a month. Can you believe that? Globally, SMS was pulling in over $100 billion per year. It was an absolute goldmine. Then boom, 2009 rolls around and WhatsApp shows up like, hey, what if we just used your data plan instead? Suddenly, people had this cheap cross-platform alternative that changed everything. By 2014, they hit 500 million users. By 2018, over 1.5 billion. And today, we're talking about more than 3 billion people using it every single month. People quickly realized they could send unlimited messages, photos, videos, voice notes, basically everything, for practically free using their mobile data, which was getting cheaper by the day. The old SMS system became obsolete almost overnight. Now here's where it gets really exciting. Crypto is about to do to payments exactly what WhatsApp did to SMS. And guess who's positioned perfectly for this revolution? Ripple and XRP. Think about what people actually want today. We live in an instant gratification world, right? Nobody wants to wait days for a payment to go through anymore. Nobody wants to get hit with those crazy high fees. And definitely nobody wants to sit around wondering if their transaction even worked. Picture this. You send a payment on Friday and you're just crossing your fingers hoping it shows up by Monday. That's the old world we're trying to escape from. But here's the game changer with Ripple and XRP. You'll know if your payment went through before you even hang up the phone. We're talking seconds, not days. That's the kind of speed and certainty that's going to transform how the entire world handles money. This is exactly why blockchain, crypto, Ripple, and XRP aren't just trends. They're the inevitable future of finance. All right, this is really interesting insight from Michael Branch. He's saying that code for XRP is becoming scarce and incredibly difficult to get your hands on. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. CEO Jean-Marie Magnetti dropped some serious truth bombs about what's happening behind the scenes. She's basically saying that these massive institutions are completely dominating the inflows right now. We're talking about a landscape where smaller players are getting absolutely crushed. They can barely stand out, let alone turn a profit. It's becoming a giant's game. And this explains exactly why CoinShares just walked away from the spot ETFs altogether. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just the XRP ETFs they abandoned. They also pulled out of Solana ETFs and Litecoin ETFs too. They basically said, nope, to the whole thing. Okay, so Nate Garossi just dropped some incredible insights about why being first to market can literally make or break you in the ETF space. And what he's sharing is absolutely mind-blowing. So get this. Canary just put out a press release announcing that their XRPC is now bigger than all the other spot XRP ETFs combined. Let me repeat that. All of them combined. That's not just impressive, that's absolutely dominating the competition. But here's what's really exciting about what we're seeing with XRPC. This isn't just some early adoption phase we're witnessing. This is straight-up validation that investor demand is shifting in a major way. And here's the crazy part.
Everyone's expecting 21 shares to be the absolute giant when it comes to XRP ETFs. And guess what? It literally just went live today. This perfectly demonstrates why first mover advantage in this space is such a complete game changer. I've been telling you this for ages. The reason Bitcoin ETFs absolutely exploded and performed so incredibly well? First mover advantage. Plain and simple. Bitcoin has always had this massive head start with everything, and that's been their secret weapon. But here's where things get really interesting. When you create a level playing field, when everyone starts from the same starting line, the whole game changes completely. Suddenly, altcoins have a real shot at not just competing with Bitcoin, but actually outperforming it. This is exactly the kind of shift we've been waiting for, and it's happening right before our eyes.
All right, so I just came across this fascinating article called The History of Altcoins, How Bitcoin's Rivals Changed the Crypto Game. And what I love about this piece is that it's written by someone who doesn't even own any crypto. Sometimes you get the most honest perspective from people who don't have skin in the game, you know? So here's what this guy is saying, and it's pretty spot on. The entire history of altcoins proves that the crypto world has evolved way beyond just Bitcoin. We're talking about a massive transformation here. Think about it. We started with early experiments like Litecoin and Namecoin, right? Then Ethereum came along and completely revolutionized everything with smart contracts. And now, we've got this incredible variety of coins, each solving different problems and creating use cases that honestly, nobody could have predicted back in the day. What's really exciting is that altcoins are still pushing the boundaries of innovation. We're seeing groundbreaking developments in finance, gaming, privacy protection, you name it. Whether you're just getting started or you've been trading for years, exploring this space thoughtfully is both thrilling and incredibly educational. But here's my take on what's really happening right now. Technology never stops advancing, right? And as it moves forward, certain cryptocurrencies are evolving and advancing right alongside it. Meanwhile, Bitcoin? It's basically stuck in the past. And here's what drives me crazy. Instead of innovating, they just keep creating new stories around it. First, it was supposed to be digital gold, remember? When that didn't work out, suddenly it became a store of value. If that narrative fails, they'll just come up with something else. And don't even get me started on how Bitcoin maximalists like to act like it was some divine gift from aliens or something, like it's superior to all other crypto. But let's be real here. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, just like everything else in this space. It's not some mystical entity. Okay, this one's going to ruffle some feathers, but I've got to say it. Imagine taking crypto advice from someone who has absolutely no clue how market cap actually works. I mean, seriously, it's absolutely wild out there right now, and you really need to be careful about who you're listening to. But here's what's even crazier. Imagine getting advice from people who think market cap is the be-all and end-all in crypto, and they're constantly trying to predict the future by just looking backwards at charts and patterns. Come on. Here's the reality check we all need to hear. Yes, the past can repeat itself, but only until it doesn't. It's that simple. Think about it. Everyone's been obsessed with this 4-year cycle narrative, right? Oh, it's always repeated, so it'll keep repeating forever. But here's the thing. Cycles repeat until they suddenly don't anymore. And guess what? That famous 4-year cycle? It's coming to an end right before our eyes. The whole narrative that Bitcoin will just keep going up forever because that's what it's always done. That story is about to get completely rewritten. Why? Because technology doesn't wait for anyone. We're witnessing the advancement of technology happening at breakneck speed, and with it, we're seeing the rise of an entirely new financial system. The old rules don't apply when the game itself is changing. So while everyone else is looking in the rearview mirror trying to predict where we're going, the smart money is paying attention to what's actually happening right now in real time. All right, so everyone's talking about XRP potentially seeing a 10x rally, and they're all looking back at that legendary 2017 pattern. And honestly, I get it, because that 2017 run was absolutely mind-blowing. It was pure euphoria watching it happen. Here's what's crazy. Back then, people were expecting XRP to maybe hit 25 cents if they were being super optimistic. But what actually happened? It shot all the way up to $3.84. Nobody saw that coming, and it was absolutely incredible to witness. But here's where things get really interesting. This time around,
XRP is in a completely different league. I don't think people fully grasp just how much bigger and stronger Ripple has become since 2017. They've been busy building an entire global infrastructure network while everyone was distracted. Think about all the strategic acquisitions they've made, all the partnerships they've secured, all the regulatory progress they've achieved. Ripple has transformed into this well-rounded powerhouse that's constantly creating new utility for XRP. The foundation they've built is absolutely massive compared to 2017. And here's the game changer. Back in 2017, everything was running purely on hype and retail FOMO. Institutions? They weren't even paying attention to this space back then. But now? Major institutions are not just watching, they're actively participating. The landscape has completely transformed. So when you combine all of this together, the infrastructure, the institutional backing, the real-world utility, there's literally nothing holding XRP back anymore. That's why I think we're going to see some absolutely shocking price targets this cycle. Most people are being conservative and predicting XRP will hit somewhere between $20 and $30. But if we're using 2017 as a reference point, where it exceeded expectations by over 15 times, I think there's a legitimate chance XRP could not only break above $100, but maybe even push past $300. Now, nobody knows for certain what's going to happen. That's just the nature of this market. But when you factor in things like scarcity, institutional demand, and real-world adoption, the possibilities are honestly mind-boggling. One thing I'm absolutely certain about, though, a massive breakout is coming, and when it happens, it's going to be explosive.
Okay, so there's this headline going around. XRP needs a reality check, says top investor, but Bitcoin's still worth buying. And honestly, I just have to ask, how do these people get so completely obsessed with Bitcoin that they can't see what's right in front of them? I mean, let's break this down logically here. They're out there telling everyone to avoid XRP, right? But when you actually look at the numbers, XRP's return on investment absolutely destroys Bitcoin's ROI. It's not even close. Think about it this way. If you bought Bitcoin today, what are you realistically hoping for? Maybe a 2 times return if you're being super optimistic? And honestly, I still think Bitcoin's going to have a tough time even getting above $150,000 from where we are right now. But here's the kicker. You could take that exact same money, build yourself a solid XRP bag, and potentially achieve actual financial freedom. Or you could stick it in Bitcoin and maybe, just maybe, double your investment. I'm not even convinced that's going to happen at this point. What really gets me is that these articles just keep coming, one after another, and they're always spreading fear about XRP. I'm convinced these pieces are being written by Bitcoin maximalists who are absolutely terrified of what XRP represents. And you know what? They should be scared. XRP is literally the one cryptocurrency that has a real shot at dethroning their precious Bitcoin. And here's what I find hilarious. If XRP actually flips Bitcoin during this cycle, these same Bitcoin maxis will disappear completely. I mean, how can you spread fear about a cryptocurrency that just took the #1 spot? You just can't do it with a straight face. But until all of this plays out, here's what we need to do. Stay patient, stay positive, and let's build wealth together. The fundamentals are there, the momentum is building, and the opportunity is massive. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up today's video. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching and being part of this incredible community. I genuinely appreciate all of you, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have an amazing night, and remember, we're just getting started.